for, how good you feel for Patrick, number one, getting a chance finally after 15 years in his assistant?
Well, I mean, the thing they feel great about is I've seen how hard he's worked, and the best story that I have is Jeff called him in Houston and said, do you want to come and coach? And he said, I'll come if I do everything that all the other assistants are doing. I want to watch film, I want to be in charge of game plans. Then we went to Orlando, and he told Stan the same thing. And he's a meats and potatoes basketball guy. He's got a great work ethic, and obviously, he's been around great coaches his whole life, going all the way back to his high school days at Ringe and Latin. So he's got a great background, but he deserves this opportunity because of all the work he's put in.
I think I heard you say earlier today that you think Georgetown's going to look like old Georgetown with Patrick back in charge. What does that mean for you?
The point I was making is I was talking to him. I'm sure you guys have seen the ESPN piece where he said nobody likes to play against us. And knowing his mentality, I just think that's the way he'll want it to be. I wasn't trying to say anything profound, or I just think that's him. That's what he'll want it to be. He's going to want it to be that they're balanced, that they defend first, they play with great toughness, great intensity, and that's how I think his team will play.
Steve, you were involved as a college coach a while back, and even before that, high school. Can you imagine now, at this stage of your life, going from this league back to the recruiting trail, essentially? And what kind of advice would you give Patrick, who has not been on that trail?
Yeah, when he first asked me, and I told him this honestly, he said, would you do it? And I told him honestly, I would go back to coach college, but I would go back to like Division II or III, where the recruiting is still time-consuming, but to me, doable, in a way that you can actually have some sense of a life, I recruited, the highest level would have been Conference USA 1 year. Recruiting's 24/7, 12 months a year. And if you don't do it like that, you have no shot, because that's what the top 20 coaches are doing. Those guys are great coaches, but they're great recruiters. They all recruit nonstop, and he knows that. He doesn't have his head in the sand. He knows what it's going to take. He's talked to a lot of people. He did a lot of research, and I think his genuine affection for that school will make it easy for him to sell it. And then I think, if you know him, I mean, he has the kind of personality where he can hit it off with anybody, which is a huge part of recruiting.
And as you've been around him a lot with NBA players, did you get a sense that the young NBA players were still aware that this was Patrick Ewing, the way kind of some older people might?
And even with that, and he knows this, is all that does is that's the first week. At the end of the day, he's good because he's good, because of how he is. I mean, I don't care who you are. Players, in our league, you either establish credibility and you build on that, or you lose it. Players, coaches, nobody cares who you are. It's competition. And the reason that our guys will miss him is his knowledge, his preparation, the fact that he cares about how they play. He has the traits that made them appreciate him. It wasn't that Hall of Fame thing, again, that's a week. You're not a good coach, then you're not going to make it anywhere. And so he's way past that. That's not even going to be an issue.
You mentioned in the previous interview that he does a lot for you guys, fill in for them. What were some of those things, maybe especially like tactical, that he kind of helped you on?
Well, he does that, again, I mean, one of the things for me is that we have, obviously with our backgrounds with, Jeff and Stan, we have a very similar, philosophy. So not just defense first, but balance wins, and then also down to how you do it. So he's invaluable planning, from practice to game prep, and then also adjustments during the games, both from a team standpoint where, he'll see things, or maybe we need to be more aggressive in a certain coverage. And then I think the one thing that I've learned from him as much as anything is being a primary scorer in this league for so many years. Like, he helps Kemba a lot, because Patrick as a player got different coverages. He was so good that they couldn't guard him one way. And it was great with Al Jefferson when we were Houston with Yao and Orlando with Dwight. He was great, and I was right there to hear all his timeout advice to them. He does the same with Kemba. When teams are more aggressive, he'll give him pointers on, give it up and wait, get them back on their heels. So I just think those are things that, not a lot of people have. I mean, he's taken full advantage of the coaching experiences he had, but he also, there were experiences that he has a player and as a primary scorer that, you could see were also a great benefit.
Post-game or end of game etiquette, this has been a topic here recently. Do you have any thoughts on that type of stuff? As far as if a team's up by a lot and what to do at the end of the game, do you have any sort of unwritten?
I never judge. I don't, listen, I've seen both things. We had a thing in Houston one year where there was almost a fight because a guy scored late. And my thing is, I worry about our team. I don't really know what specific incident you're talking about.
I just meant in general, if you subscribe to any philosophy on it.
Nope. I mean, I think it's game by game. It depends who's on the court. Difference if the starters are out there, it's guys that never play, things like that. But, I just worry about our team. That's it. I'm not going to judge what other people do.
You guys are 7-3 since the last 10. Just started with beating the Wizards the last time. So what's been working for you guys to get you back in?
We're more balanced, and really, our defense has been better, but it's been our offense. Since the All-Star game, we're third in offense, and we've also played better in the fourth quarter. Our fourth quarter defense has been a big problem all year. It's been our biggest problem, and we've been better with that also.
You've been moving up the standings, and now you're close to getting in the playoffs. As fans, they watch the standings and the scoreboard nightly, and they get excited about that. As a coach, do you get excited at the end of the season following that, or do you just put your head down and say,
I'm watching now, but I still think it gets back to the same things as the best teams, you concentrate on what you can concentrate on, and we've done a good job with that. We've been practicing well. We've been good in our game preps. And so we're playing better. You've got to luck into, like tonight, you can't come in here and just say, we have to win. There's 4 or 5 things that you have to do in this league every night to give yourself a chance. Tonight, if we're not low turnover, we're not going to win. If they're getting out and running off their turnovers, you're not going to win. If they hammer us like they did the first time here on the glass, you're not going to win. And those are the things that everybody has to be thinking about.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, guys.